The following tutorial is brought to you by WholeLoops.com.
It's production time. I'm Reed Stefan, Realist Puppet in the game. Today, we're going to Las Vegas to meet with mixing and mastering legend Luca Predolesi. He's going to show us how he mastered the biggest dance record of the year, On My Mind by Diplo featuring Sidepiece. We're also getting an exclusive sneak peek into his brand new online mixing and mastering school, My Mix Lab. So let's jump right into the sauce.
Hello everyone, welcome to My Mix Lab. My name is Luca Predolesi.
And I'm Reed Stefan, Realist Puppet in the game, and we're here today to take an inside look at the final mix and master session of On My Mind by Diplo featuring Sidepiece.
This song has been one of the most requested reference mixes for my mixdown. So essentially, saying, hey Luca, can you mix my track kind of like you did on My Mind? So the idea today is to actually share the little secret and the best and the tip and tricks that I use to the final result on this mix. So the song is very streamlined and simple. It was about to retain separation, dynamic, play between the tone of the track and the transient. The song has a very, very fast transient. And when I receive mixing requests, and this is the reference, I always say, guys, make sure that your arrangement, your key, the key of the track, the arrangement is on point. Rarely we're having multiple layers stuck in top of each other. It's always like very separated. We have the synth happening on the drop, that's it. I really encourage you guys to do one step back on sound design and arrangement before diving into the mix. Now we're hitting the mastering side. The mastering side of this is very simple. I'm using an analog limiter and I use a series of plugins. So let's check what the analog limiter is doing. It's responsible for the relationship between loudness and the snappy part of the kick. So check with or without. You can visually see on the screen. Without. And what I love about analog limiters, that you don't feel a big bump on peaks or RMS. You feel more get tighter and more control. Let's see if we can take a look of the waveform. Let's check this. Without. Notice this, without this, you're gonna see inconsistent kicks. Okay, check on the waveform of the track without limiter. Second and fourth, second and fourth. With the limiter. Very consistent. Now, be able to go back into the box with a very controlled sound, where I'm having the peaks that are like literally hitting right under zero. I have a lot of options. So in this case, I'm using an actual gate to create upward compression.
On the master?
On the master.
A gate.
A gate.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm curious now.
So the FabFilter Pro G, you can tweak, you can kind of like Frankenstein the Pro G to become, and do upward compression. You can turn in whatever you want. You can do additional compression or you can do upward compression, which is pretty much expansion. So check this. Good. So, of course, if I'm pushing, I'm gonna get distortion, but you can tell. Essentially what it's doing is taking all the sound that has been limited already and apply a little bit of expansion from one point on. So when I go here, and I pretty much hit 0 dB, instead of being clipped and stay there, it gave me an additional expansion over 0 dB. Will help me to reach the RMS level that I'm looking for. Hello, my name is Luca Pretolesi, and welcome to my Mix Lab. I'm going to share my personal workflow, template, and plugin settings to mix and master your song like I did in On My Mind by Diplo and Sidepiece. Subscribe now to watch this plus new courses every week. Only on mymixlab.com.
So the gate is making it extra dynamic to go into the final limiter?
That's correct. It's creating additional dynamics with the ratio. So actually, Reed, you give me a good idea. Let's do a test, and I want you really guys to feel what it's doing. So check attack and release and ratio. Okay. Ratio. I exaggerate, of course, and I go like 3 to 1. Look the waveform. It goes like this. It goes almost like square. So at that point happening that it goes from being clipped and limited to do crazy expansion. I want to do a little light, soft expansion. And the question should be, okay, what is the purpose? The purpose is, because the track is so loud and so square, having an opportunity to give an additional expansion at the end, you give a sense of dynamics, even for a track that is -3 RMS. Now, look into the lift. So lift is doing a little bit of clipping. I use always the mode 3, which is an emulation of analog clipping. Without, without clipping, with clipping. Now, I have an opportunity to build a little bit of low end into the clipper. So the Diamond Lift has a low shelf and high shelf. If I bring the low shelf, I do FDB into clipping, I'll have a sense of like fullness on the low end. Let's take it out first. Wait. Let's bypass entirely. And now, as a final clipper, I use the standard clip to reach the maximum level. You're gonna see an interesting shape of the transient. That it's caused by the combination of the Pro G and the lift. Instead of being like a square transient, it's gonna be a square with an angle. Check. The square and angle of the transient is caused by very fast expansion and clipping at the same time.
I love that trick.
It sounds more natural to me.
Is this something that you do when you don't have the stems to master a song? This seems like a great trick to fix, like if someone's rapping over a beat they bought off the internet and they wanted to try and mix it a little better. This seems like a great trick to help your beat feel a little bit better mixed.
It really is. How many times we have no options as far as like getting a stereo file that is overly limited or maybe compressed in a wrong way. You want to regain dynamics. That's a really good idea for that. Yeah, for sure.
I love this.
For metering, a lot of people ask me what I like to use. I like to use the BX meter. We are -3 RMS. Which is, for a traditional song, is way too loud, but there is a lot of competition going on the tech house world, and this will really allow you to drop in on a set and have this shine a little bit more. And
on a CDJ, you don't have to worry about the LUFS police turning your song down.
There we go. Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, guys, last piece I want to show you guys, if you don't trust your ears 100%, trust me, use a meter that allow you to check the waveform of your song. I use the multi-analyzer for that. If I want to, for example, if I want to check against the rough, I want to see, okay, that's my rough waveform, that's my master waveform. This is the actual two songs against each other. Very useful for that. Sometimes over time, when we mix late at night, we start to, in some way, stop trusting our ears. And it's a fair concern because you tend to push and push and push, and then you're not, the objectivity, it goes away. Now looking, you're able to have a confirmation of your sound.
Yep. And see a bit of a difference too.
Absolutely. Another quick tip is, if you have the luxury and the time to finalize the master the next day, do that. End the day, finish the mix, do a quick master, go to sleep. When you open the mix the first time, be the client yourself. This means you take your iPhone, you listen, you divide mixing note, mastering notes. What are the mixing notes? Vocal too loud, vocal too low, the kick is too boomy. Those are mixing notes. Mastering note is, I feel the overall track should be brighter. I feel the overall track should be wider. Those are mastering notes.
What about more dynamic? If you're listening and you think it feels squashed, would you fix that in the mix or the master?
I would say mastering notes in case you feel the overall track sounds too squash. If you feel that your kick and bass is being too flat, that's a mixing note.
Beautiful. That's a really great piece of information, again, to help you guys make your own decisions.
Absolutely. This platform will allow us to dive deep into mixes like this one. I think it's a great opportunity, beside the actual song, to maybe give you some ideas that you can kind of tweak, make your own, and apply to your own songs.
Yes, and some presets too.
After this, we're gonna export all the presets, and this is gonna be a weekly event on my Mix Lab, so I'm very excited to share. Maybe sometimes a full song, sometimes just quick ideas, who knows? Whatever I feel can be, something beneficial for your mixing experience. I'll see you on my Mix Lab, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll see you back with another tutorial.
Ciao.
Peace out.
Ciao, ciao.